Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the next part in my 2019 complete Blu-ray collection. We're looking at shelf number 11 today. As you can see, I've already cleared it to show you. Those hammer sets were actually in the at the end of the last video. The reason why they're now on the next shelf is because I've already made purchases. And they've been shunted along. Anyway, let's get straight to it. Shelf number 11. So kicking things off, we've got a Third Window Films release. This is the Korean film Hangong-ju. Brilliant drama, this one. Well worth seeking out. As you can see on the front there, it's got a recommendation from Martin Scorsese himself. So therefore, I think that speaks for itself. Another Third Window release here. This is the Japanese film from Takashi Kitano, Hanabi. It was released as Fireworks in America. That's the slipcover on the left-hand side there. This is a brilliant release for, what's pretty much just a masterpiece of a film. Well worth seeking out if you've never heard of it or seen it before. Next up, we've got another Korean film from the great director himself, Park Chan-wook. This is The Handmaiden. So just to show you the contents of this box set, it's a great release from Artificial Eye. Basically, it's got both editions of the film. It's got the original theatrical cut and then the extended director's cut. I would recommend watching the director's cut because I thought it was great. Again, brilliant Korean film. Next up, we've got some comedy, the Hangover trilogy. Originally, this came in a box set, but it was bought by my wife, and the sleeve was... It was bought secondhand, so the sleeve was absolutely ripped to shreds, so we had to bin it, unfortunately. And then randomly I got given a better condition version of Part 3, which came with a slipcover, so it just looks a bit mishmash now. Funny films, though, they're all right. I mean, they're nothing too amazing, but, you know, they're good for a laugh. Here we've got the Hannibal Lecter trilogy. So this box set's got the three films where Anthony Hopkins played Hannibal Lecter. As you can see, chronologically, in terms of the narrative, you've got Red Dragon leading into The Silence of the Lambs and then Hannibal. Next up, we've got another Korean film. This one is from 88 Films. It's Hansel and Gretel, obviously based on the old sort of Grimm Brothers nursery rhyme. Great sort of atmospheric, spooky ghost story, this one. It's really good. Next up, we've got another Japanese film. This is from one of my favourite working directors currently in Japan, Takashi Miike. This one is called The Happiness of the Katakuris. It's an absolutely mentally crazy film like most of his films are, and it's all the better for it. Just look at that cover. I mean, look at it. It's amazing. Next up, we've got like an American, I don't know, slasher horror, I suppose you'd call it. It's sort of a bit of a play on Groundhog Day. They even literally reference Groundhog Day. Probably so they didn't get accused of ripping it off instead of, I don't know, paying homage instead. Yeah, it was better than it ought to be, but I mean, it won a great. Although I have kept hold on to it, not sold it, so that speaks for something at least. Another Japanese Takashi Miike film. This one's a little bit more serious. Harikiri, Death of a Samurai. Of course, it's a remake of a classic. I believe it was the 50s when the original came out. And shocking though it is, I've never seen the original film. I do like this version though. Miike can, turn his work serious when he needs to and when he wants to. Now, here we've got a little bit of a classic. I'm a sucker for Jean-Claude Van Damme, especially sort of his 80s, early 90s stuff. This was the first film that John Woo made when he moved to America to start making films. Hard Target, of course. It's a bit nostalgic for me because this is the kind of stuff that I kind of grew up on, sort of classic Van Damme. I really like this one. It's a decent film. Next up, we've got a Russian film from Arrow Academy. This one's called Hard to Be a God, from director Alexei German. This one was actually made after he had died, or at least it was finished anyway. This one is a bizarre film. It is science fiction, although it's difficult to classify it as that. It's a long film, not something that everyone will enjoy, but to be fair to it, it's pretty fucking good. Just realised that I swore in the last scene, but I'm not going to cut that out. Sorry if that offended anyone. Anyway, next up we've got Hardcore Henry. This one again, it's another Russian film, although it could be a Russian-American co-production. Most of it's, in fact, it's all in English, from what I remember. This one is mental. It's frenetic, and because of the first-person perspective, which is constant throughout the film, some people were saying like gives you a headache. I didn't get that reaction from it. It's so over the top, brutal, gory, violent, and delirious. It's nothing but enjoyable. Next up, we've got a Region A locked film. This was an eBay purchase. Hardware. This is a brilliant science fiction film. It's like a low budget one. Yeah, which I remember watching years and years ago, and then obviously this remastered edition came out, and I probably paid over the odds for it, but it's an awesome film. Next up, we've got the complete Harry Potter collection. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with these films, but I'll run through them quick. You've got part 1, which is the Philosopher's Stone. Part 2, which is the Chamber of Secrets. Part 3, which is my personal favourite, that's the Prisoner of Azkaban. Part 4, which is the Goblet of Fire. Part 5, which is the Order of the Phoenix. Part 6, which is the Half-Blood Prince. Part 7, which is the Deathly Hallows Part 1. And then the final film in the series, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. Next up, we've got 2 beautiful box sets from Indicator. This is the Ray Harryhausen Collections, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So in Volume 1, we've got It Came From Beneath the Sea. Then we've got 20 Million Miles to Earth. And finally, we've got the 3 Worlds of Gulliver. And then in Volume 2, we have Mysterious Island, Jason and the Argonauts. This is possibly my favourite from the lot, although I am a big fan of It Came From Beneath the Sea. And then finally, we've got First Men in the Moon, the last one in Volume 2. Here we've got The Hateful Eight, Headhunters, Headshot, and Heathers. Okay, so that about wraps things up. Thank you very much for watching.